Now, this is our second interview today, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask David to do this.
On.
Oh, go for
it's just so funny to me how the tables turn. Like, it's just that the subject matter is roots, and it's appropriately so. The black
easy boy, easy. You're turning red.
He's like, no, we don't suffer today. It's your time.
It's not suffer.
So are you like at the movie theater when people are coming in? You're like, hey. Oh, you're going to Theater 13? 57 minutes into the movie. Look out for this guy. Like, it's so crazy that you're like...
Baby geniuses didn't go to the movies. Can you imagine? I had a really angry voice. The last voicemail I had was, you just cost this production $100,000. We're going to have to leave the swing set standing until next week. We're going to have to bring the director back to redirect the scene. We have to recast the role. We have to take a day out filming from the next episode. And like, oh my God, I thought my career was over.
We're glad you're here.
All right. He is an actor, a writer, a director. He auditioned for his first professional role on the day of his graduation from the Academy of Live and Recorded Arts, where he completed the 3-year acting course on a Dance and Drama Award scholarship that he was awarded. That audition resulted in a role in his first feature film, Batman Begins, in 2005. That same year would also mark his first television appearance on the famous staple of BBC television, Doctor Who. Since then, he has stayed busy appearing in numerous TV shows. Here's a few of our favorites: Leverage, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, The Leftovers, The Good Place, Teen Wolf, American Horror Story, Apocalypse, Santa Clarita Diet, Modern Family, Better Things, and so much more. He, of course, played Psycho Pete in the episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia titled Psycho Pete Returns, and he received much acclaim for his portrayal of Victor Buono on Ryan Murphy's Feud. As a filmmaker, he wrote, directed, and starred in the short film Sam Did It, which earned him multiple festival awards, including the Audience Award and Best Short Film at the 2018 LA Comedy Festival. Dominic, thank you very much for coming on today.
Wow, no, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that was a lot.
That was like a quarter of it, if that. Dude, you've done so much. It was hard to keep.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I'm going to quote every shadow. How do I follow that? I mean, what the hell is going on here? All right. Now we're going to begin with a stroll through some of the highlights of your career. I mean, drink a Coke. That was great. I'll give you that. We're going to stroll through some of the highlights of your career that are particularly interesting to us here at TTFT. Now, when you told your guidance counselor that you wanted to study drama, I did the same thing. The most embarrassing moment of my life. She was wrong. You said that she looked at you as if you said you wanted to go to Switzerland to be euthanized, have your pet spayed and neutered. And now, at any point in your journey to becoming a full-time actor, did you feel like maybe you had to go into Switzerland to be euthanized?
No, it's the best decision, one of the best decisions I've ever made. The second one being moving to the United States. I went to a high school that was very academically driven, and I'm so grateful to have the education that I have. But my school was very driven by churning out doctors and lawyers and accountants and politicians, and if you were creative, they would do school plays and whatnot, but they didn't do GCSE drama or anything that you could really sink your teeth into creatively. And so, yeah, when I told my guidance counselor in the sixth form that I wanted to go to drama school, the big push was that, well, you should go to university and study English and see if you still want to do drama after that. And, I was very adamant that I wanted to do something vocational. I wanted to go to drama school, and I don't learn by watching and reading. I learn by doing and getting up and performing. And drama school was really the only option for me at that point.
Did you get pushback, like the ultimatum of, well, you can do that, but do this first and keep it in your back pocket just so you have a fallback plan?
Yep. There was a lot of talk about fallback plans, and I remember this guidance counselor, Mrs. Atkins, very clearly. It was in the little guidance counselor library where they had all the forms for university and all the booklets on all the universities in the UK. And I was very adamant that there was just no information about drama schools whatsoever, about how to go through the audition process or which drama schools were accredited or reputable. And, she flat out told me, well, then I can't help you. I can't help you. And then we just sat in silence for 20 minutes while she did paperwork.
That story is chilling, and I'm going to tell you why very briefly. And I've told you this story. When I graduated high school, my mom wanted me to go to college. I didn't want to. I just wanted to go straight into acting. And I said, I'll do 1 year. I wound up doing 1 semester. And my guidance counselor in college said that she came into class, asked everybody what they wanted to be. Like she was a cop and we were 5 years old at some little rally. And she came to me and I was like, I'm not going to lie. I said, I'm going to be an actor. She said, well, you don't really need to be here for that. And I was like, damn.
I've had so many bosses tell me that too. Like, you clearly don't want to be here. And that's the thing about, like, it sounds good on paper to have like a backup plan. But at the end of the day, it's not fair for whoever that backup plan is, whoever plays the part in that backup plan. And I feel like with like getting into the creative industry, everybody's trying to get through those floodgates. So if you come at it with the desperation or persistence of someone that has something in their back pocket, it's like, I don't think that's enough.
I think it's a dangerous, it's not dangerous, but I know for myself that I've had so many day jobs as I was starting my acting career. And I had offers of promotions, if I was working at HMV in the DVD section, they were like, hey, you want to go for this position of a supervisor? And then I'm like, yes, cool. The money would be a little bit better, but I don't want to be in a position of responsibility where I can't go to auditions anymore. I don't want to put myself in a position where I am putting my day job above what my heart is wanting to do. So I've worked a lot of minimum wage jobs, and I always would say no to promotions just because that was never the end game. I didn't want to fall into retail or real estate or anything like that.
Yeah. To sum this up, the plan B is to not let plan A fail. There is no plan B. Now, let me ask you this. Now, how did you win the scholarship for the course at the Academy of Live and Recording Arts? How did that happen? Tell us about that.
Yeah. Firstly, rest in peace, Academy of Live and Recorded Arts. It actually shut down last month. Oh, wow. Very suddenly. But I had a wonderful time there. I went there from 2001 to 2004. And I auditioned. I took a gap year after high school because finding information about drama schools was so hard back then. This was like sort of pre-internet, before I had internet at home. So it was a lot of mailing to all these drama schools to ask for prospectus. And I went down. I auditioned for a few places, and I got a few places at drama school. And Alra was the first one that offered me a scholarship, the Dance and Drama Award, and it was based on the audition that you do there. So we went down, and for Alra, I did a period monologue. I think I did a Shakespearean monologue, and then you did two scenes, a contemporary and a classical scene. And then there was an improvisation component and a movement component. So it was like it's a full 8-hour day audition. And then at the end of the day, you have a one-on-one with the principal of the school and a couple of the teachers, and they grill you and they ask you questions. And then, you wait for 3 days and the letter comes through the mail. And there would have been no way I would have been able to afford drama school without the scholarship. There's no way that I would have been able to pay those fees and live in London and survive. So without that, I would have been scuppered.
Right. Let me ask you this. Now, whether it came from a teacher or an experience at the school, what's the most important thing you learned during your time there?
When I was at drama school, I think looking back, my favorite thing is that it was so intense. We were there, 9 hours a day. We were there from 9 in the morning till 6 in the evening. And, you would turn up on a Monday morning and the first hour would be movement. And then you'd have fight classes for an hour. And then you would have accent and dialect classes for an hour. And then you'd be doing your sort of theater piece for that term for 3 hours. And then you would have singing for an hour. And then you'd have radio for an hour. And there was just no downtime. And then you would get home and you'd have lines to learn for the next day for whatever classes you were doing, or history of theater classes and things to study or songs to learn or prepare. That I think, doing that over the course of 3 years, it just taught me to not second guess, to just go with your gut, and just you just have to. You get a script and you have to break it down, and you just have to go. And I think, if you're in a position, and I was in this position for a few years in London, where auditions are few and far between, and you get a 5-line scene, and then you start overthinking it about like, what if they want this, and what if they want that, and what if this, and what if that, and then you're in your head, and then you're second guessing all your choices. Where I think at drama school, everything came at you so fast that you just had to go. And, you learn by making mistakes and what works for you and doesn't work for you. And you figure that out. And yeah, I think that pace just taught me to trust my gut a little.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like learning to trust your instinct and then not really learn, but also building a little bit of callous to like being okay if it doesn't always work out, because and I think like once you fail, it's like, okay, that didn't kill me. I can do that every now and then.
Yeah, I think it's something that comes as your career goes along, and I think it's something as your career grows. I'm sure we'll talk about it as we start talking about some of the roles, but there was a time in my early career where I would go to set and sort of, sit in the corner and be very polite and not want to disturb anything. And now I'm very much in a place where I'm just like, well, this is me. If this is what you hired, and this is what you get.
This is the face you hired.
Yeah, we have
that right here.
We had Barry Corbin on. He had a very funny story.
This is the face you hired. So fuck it.
The director was unhappy with how he was reacting to something, and said, "Make a different face." He's like, "What face would you like me to make? This is the one you hired. This is the one you're getting."
Yeah, I've had similar situations for sure.
Right out the gates from graduating, you're working on a Christopher Nolan film. You got a part in the biggest literally probably the biggest television series of all time. We're talking about Batman Begins and Doctor Who. How are you feeling during that time to have you've put in the work, and then you kind of got like immediate results, it seems like?
Yeah, well, it seems like on paper, on IMDb, that's what it looks like. I was always very proactive. Going through drama school and after drama school, and still to this day, I'm very proactive in learning who is casting what show and who's involved and who the producers are and who the writers are. And if there's a project that I want to be involved with, I'll let my managers know. And I got the audition for Batman. That was the morning that I graduated. And maybe 3 or 4 months before graduating, I had done a big, back then there was no emailing casting directors, but I'd done a big mail out saying like, hey, I'm graduating from drama school. Like, these are the genres that I like. And I remember I wrote to Andy Pryor, who was the casting director on Doctor Who, being like, oh my gosh, Sylvester McCoy was my doctor and Ace was his companion. And oh my gosh, Doctor Who is coming back and I would love to do this. So I think a lot of that stuff started coming in as a result of those letters. And then I was cut from Batman Begins, which was, a lesson in itself, where you take a bunch of friends to the Odeon and you're sitting there, and then 3/4 of the way through the film, you're like, oh no, the moment has passed. It's gone. Oh no. And my name still survived the credits. So on a cut somewhere, maybe I survived. And then, Doctor Who. And so after that, I think I got frustrated in England because I was very lucky. I had an agent, but I was very lucky if I was getting an audition maybe once every 3 or 4 months. And I was getting frustrated because I was like, but I just like, we got Batman Begins on our resume. We got Doctor Who on our resume. Like, what can we be doing to keep momentum going? And I was just running up against a lot of, well, it's November, so Christmas holidays are coming up, so everything's closed down. And then I call them again in January and they'll be like, well, everything's just getting up and running, so everything's a little bit slow, and Valentine's Day is coming up, so just hold tight. And I was getting so frustrated. And then when you're just auditioning once every 3 or 4 months, that second guessing nature and the nerves start to come in, and they start strangling you because there's so much pressure on having to book that one audition that comes along so sparingly.
Now, you spoke to something earlier, and I want to kind of bring this in because we like to teach here on this show. As far as actors are concerned, because I've been in this situation, it's happened to me personally. You're out there, you're prepping for your role, you worked hard, you've done everything you know that you can, and this is an event. Finally, you can say, I didn't invite my friends to the other stuff, even though they say they come, but this is the one. What is that moment like? And people know what it's called. It's the cutting room floor. Your friends are there. You want them to see you. You've done great, but they don't see you. How do you deal with that and then move forward?
It's a learning curve. There's been plenty of things I've done and been cut from. I did an episode of 90210 that they did send a letter to say you didn't make it into the final product, and they explained why, which I understood because they broke it down that I was working for a real life company, and they didn't want. I was playing sort of an asshole manager, and they didn't want that company to be represented in that way on screen. And so they cut that section.
That was really cool of them, not just to notify you, but to even here's why. Nothing that you did.
Casting, they sent a letter to say you didn't make the cut. And then casting got in touch with my reps and said, hey, you're playing an asshole boss who's not letting one of his employees leave early for the day, and just this company doesn't want that to be the representation of them on screen, which I understood, and I liked that. And I did 3 or 4 episodes of Goliath on Amazon, and then they scuppered the whole thing and they started rewriting the whole season again, and so whole storylines went out of the window. So it's just something now that I'm a little cautious about telling people until something airs and it's on and it's out there in the world, because, you can work on something and something can change and you can get cut. And you still do the work, you still make those connections. But yeah, it's something I learned very quickly on my very first job, taking my friends to the movies. And then afterwards, that for a few, when people look at you and are like, oh, you lied. And I'm like, no, I did it. That's my name.
Where's Christopher?
This is my name.
Christopher, where you saw me?
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for that. So for all you aspiring actors out there, look forward to it. I guarantee you'll happen.
I love what you said about being how you're proactive. Is that common in your experience with other actors? Because I feel like it's like reaching out to people so proactively, like you did before you even graduated. It's almost like there's an entitlement that comes with the ego that a lot of actors have, where they feel like, why aren't, like, I see it a lot locally where it's like, why aren't people coming to me? Like they kind of like I'm this thing. Why aren't they flocking to me? Like it's almost feels belittling to their ego to reach out to people like that.
Well, I feel like I do know people who, and it's a trap that actors can fall into, is it's always that next one little thing, and then the floodgates are going to open, and it starts very early on. They're like, oh, if I can just get into drama school, then all the chips are going to fall into place. And then once you graduate, oh, if I can just get an agent, then everything's going to be great. And if I can just get that one line on a TV show, then everyone's going to want me. And then, oh, I just want 5 lines in a scene. Now I just want this. And I think I went off topic a little bit there, but
that's good.
Oh, they're just waiting on somebody to turn the wheels for them. Where it seems you've started the wheels turning on your own before you even graduate. Like if this doesn't work out, it's not going to be because I didn't try.
Yeah, I look, hands up. I've had great agents before, and I've had terrible agents before, and I think there's a danger when actors get an agent that then they dust off their hands and they say, got an agent, now it's the ball's in their court and they've got to bring the auditions to me. And I still think as actors, you have a due diligence to know who is casting on shows, to know who the associates are, to know who the casting assistants are, to know who's writing those shows, who's directing those shows. And I moved to America and I have been with my manager out here for 15 years. And we have such a wonderful symbiotic relationship where, I keep my ear to the ground and I know what's casting, and she will send me what is called breakdowns and saying like, hey, I saw this role that's fit for you on this. And I'll say, yeah, I worked with that director on that other show. That casting director knows me from these auditions that we did, and we booked those other shows. So we sort of build it and piece it together like a puzzle to help her pitch and to help her do her job by me doing my job, I guess. And even as recently as when I found out that Star Trek was coming back and Patrick Stewart was coming back to do Picard, I wrote a handwritten card to the casting director. I walked it down to the office on Laurel Canyon and was like, hey, Liz, I grew up on Star Trek, The Next Generation. I would race home from high school. It would mean the world to me if in this casting process, if there's anything at all you think I would be right for, I will be a sliding door in the background, whatever I can do to be a part of this world. And yeah, then they call me in maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, and then I ended up working on Star Trek Picard. Yeah, I will always advocate being proactive, and
that is the passion right there. That is a true. He's a thespian.
In researching the interview, I saw on your an early website that you were taking that. I could see it, taking the ownership of your own career. Like even in your bio, you start your bio out with like, this is actually me. This isn't somebody that's representing me, pretending to be me, or this. When I say I, it's I.
I love it, man. I love it. Now, from England to Inglewood, all jokes aside, in 2007, you moved from England to LA. Did you deal with any culture shock or anything? Any thoughts on that transition?
No, I don't think so. I feel like Los Angeles was always the goal. Like I said, I was raised on Star Trek and Buffy and X-Files and Twin Peaks and all this American programming. And so America was always the goal, even, to the annoyance of my head teacher at drama school, who was like, you don't want to go to America and be a star. You should be happy working in black box theater in the Isles of Scotland for £5 a night. And that just wasn't, my goal was always to work in TV and film. That's what makes my heart beat. That's, you can't see because of this backdrop, but I have a Blu-ray collection, and I love movies, and I love TV, and I love storytelling. And so when I moved here, again, London was not my city. I was getting those auditions maybe once every 3 or 4 months. And I moved to Los Angeles, and it was the writer's strike of 2007, 2008. So nothing was being made, and casting directors had nothing to do other than hold general meetings with new actors, or they were teaching workshops. So I met more casting directors in 3 weeks than I had done in 3 years of being in London.
Wow.
And I got a day job. I jumped into classes real fast. I was taking classes every night of the week, and I built up a sort of circle of friends and a community really fast. And I don't miss London at all, really.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that in my life, in a movie or in life. Oh, wow. I love it though. Hey, I love it.
Yeah, no, that's I could see that, especially like for someone like you. You seem like so again proactive and just so hungry to be in a place that was leaving you malnourished as far as what you wanted to do, essentially to sustain you. I can see that being like, yeah, good riddance. This is everything I want is right here. In 2010, you performed in a show on the Groundlings main stage that was directed by Mindy Sterling. What was that experience like being directed by her?
So good. If you don't know Mindy, she plays Frau in the Austin Powers films. The Screeching German, sending the clowns. And she is a delight. She's wonderful and warm and funny and sharp and won't take any bullshit. When she's a teacher. Nurturing, but won't let you just float by, which I really appreciate. And then we sort of passed like ships in the night when I started working on a show called Ant Farm. She had been on that show for the first 2 seasons, and I came in season 3, and sort of the show went through a change, and the kids changed high schools, and I was the new principal and she was the old principal. And then, we cross paths every now and again. We were in Vancouver together, and we saw each other in the elevator, and we're like, oh my gosh, she's a delight. Wonderful, wonderful human being.
That's cool.
Amazing. Now, in 2013, you play a clerk in the FX series Maron. In the
Maron.
I've been calling him Maron the entire time. I've actually saw that series. That's what's fucking me up.
I was waiting until right now.
Fuck you for that. Anyway, all right, we're running that back. Everybody back to 1, 3, 2.
I don't know why you were doing it. I'm using all this.
I'm okay. I'm in character. Goddamn it, I'm a method actor, Hans. In 2013, you played a clerk in the FX series Maron. In the episode Internet Troll, you actually shared the screen with Mark Maron. What was the experience like, and what was it like to work with Mark Maron?
We were good. That was actually, it was the first episode of the show, and it was the first day of filming. We were in a comic book store out in Glendale. And that audition for that was really interesting too, because I went in using an American accent, and the casting director, Dorian Frankel, knew me by that point. And the audition went great, and I left the room, and then I was walking through the parking lot, and she was running up behind me going, Dominic, wait, come back. They want to see you do it in British. So I went back and I did it in British. And then I think a couple of days went by, and they were like, they want you, and they want you to do it in British, which is always fun. I feel like when you're British or you have another accent in play, you can send in 2 versions of an audition, and then you get to do 2 takes, and then people get to choose and decide. But it was a really fun day. That day, I think Mark has cats, and one of his cats had gotten missing the day before or the morning before. And I think with it being the first day of filming on a brand new show where he's the lead of the show, he had other things to occupy him. So it was, it was very quick. It was very professional. And I think because his cat had gone missing, he was sort of, as I would be, I have 5 cats. And so if one of my cats had gone missing, I would be distraught. But yeah, it was a great experience. And I used that scene in my reel, I think for 5-6 years. Like, it was like, oh, this is a fun reel scene.
Do you get to improvise on that show, or is it mostly scripted?
I think we stuck pretty close to the script. When I feel like when you're a guest star actor, you sort of have to feel out what everyone else around you is doing before you start jumping in and like, I'm going to start improvising. Yeah. Because it's not your show to do so, really, unless you're given permission, unless the director comes out from behind Video Village and says, hey, let's loosen it up, play around with it, do whatever you want to do. Let's do a crazy take. Then I will sort of watch and see what everyone else is doing first. And especially, because it was a brand new show and it was the very first day of filming, I think everything was pretty as scripted, because they're still finding the feet and figuring out what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So that I remember being pretty scripted.
Okay. Also in 2013, Raising Hope. I love that show. The whole cast is great. Greg Garcia is amazing. What was it like to work on that set? It seems very loose and almost like high school.
Yeah, it does seem that way. I did not have that experience, not because of the set, not because of the actors, not because of the environment. I, at that time in 2013, was on something called an O1 visa, which caused me a whole bunch of problems for the first few years that I was out here, because there are a lot of studios and production companies that will not let you work on an O1 visa, even though the visa is designed for actors to come from overseas to be able to work on American productions. And I had done a lot of auditions. I auditioned for Tintin, CSI, Miami, The Mentalist, all these shows that I had booked and then wasn't allowed to work on. And then I had a terrible experience a couple of months before on another show where I'd been filming, and then had a whole bunch of voicemails being like, "You just cost production $100,000. We're going to have to reshoot." And then on Raising Hope.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that's not one of the audience indulge us, please. What happened?
Yeah. I worked on a show that ran for one season, and I was a one-day guest star. Turned up to work, I had a lot to do that day, and so very diligently, I left my phone in the dressing room. We were on a soundstage, and did the work, got back to my dressing room, and had countless voicemails that started out really, really gentle, along the lines of like, "Dominic, Shelley, I'm with accounting, just calling to see, are you on an O1 visa? Okay, thanks, get back to me, bye." And then the next voicemail was like, "Dominic, I'm going through the paperwork and you're on an O1 visa. You need to call us right now." And then the next voicemail would be like, "Dominic, it's a line supervisor. You don't have the correct paperwork to be on this show. You need to get in touch with us right now." And then voicemails from casting, voicemails from like panicked agents being like, we gave them the paperwork. They knew you were on an O1 visa. We don't know what the problem is. We're going to get attorneys involved. We're going to get this involved. To the point where I had a really angry voice. The last voicemail I had was, "You just cost this production $100,000. We're going to have to leave the swing set standing until next week. We're going to have to bring the director back to redirect the scene. We have to recast the role. We have to take a day off filming from the next episode." And like, oh my God, I thought my career was over.
Wow.
All because of this O1 visa shenanigans. And so on Raising Hope, they had all the paperwork up front beforehand. And I got to the location, I think it was up in Chatsworth that we were filming. And I was in my trailer, and there was a knock on my trailer door, and I was like, "Great, they're ready for me." And it was a production assistant being like, "Dominic, do not step foot outside your trailer. Do not set foot on the soundstage. Do not come out of this room. You're on an O1 visa, and we have to figure some stuff out." And so it was another one of those situations where it's like, oh no, it's going to turn into a nightmare again. They did figure it out, but that just loomed large over the day of like checking my phone to be like, am I going to get fired? Am I going to like be asked to leave the soundstage? So that was my Raising Hope experience. Even though everyone was like,
we've been doing this show for 3 seasons. That might be the most intense story we've ever heard. Because as he's retelling it, I don't think he's ever retold the story. I'm living it with you. Like, oh shit, what happened? He's like, the last one was really angry. I'm like, no, the other 10 were angry. But that's just crazy.
It's crazy. There was no fault of your own. Like, you've done everything right.
I mean, to swing back to that Batman Begins experience of, I told everyone, because it was happening. In 2008, my first full year out here, in July, August, I auditioned for Tintin that Steven Spielberg was directing, and I booked it. And, so then you're like, oh my gosh, Steven Spielberg watched my audition tape and he chose me. Great. And then I went down they were filming, I think, down towards Manhattan Beach or Playa del Rey, and they had the motion capture studios. And I went to the digital Weta scanning thing, and I had my face scanned, and they fitted me for the helmet with the camera on, and they put me in the motion capture suit. I went back home to England that Christmas, and then maybe 22nd or 23rd of December, I had a call from lawyers at Paramount being like, hey, they're not going to accept your O1 visa. We're going to try and petition for another O1 visa through the studio, but we don't think it's going to go through. And yeah, they wouldn't let me work on Tintin with Steven Spielberg because of my O1 visa.
That's going in the catalogs there. Now, listen, you like to flirt. Leaving England and coming to America wasn't the first time you crossed the line here. You've been flirting with a little Marvel and a little DC action here. So you talked about Batman. I told you I saw you on Flash a few lights ago. So that's the DC universe. We've lost him. Don't worry about it. So now you crossed over and you flirted a little bit. Because in 2013 and 2014, you starred as Zoltan Grundy in Disney's Ant-Man Farm series. Now, first off, how did it feel to have a steady recurring role as an actor, such as a reputable umbrella like Disney, who is now technically Marvel? Bam.
Okay, you got me back to
thank you. There we go. I got you. He was worried for a second.
He's going off.
Yeah, I mean, Ant Farm was the reason that I was able to leave my day job. I was working in a movie theater at the time, and I booked Ant Farm. And originally it was going to be 3 episodes. And I told my day job, like, hey, I booked 3 episodes of the show. I'll still come in on the weekends. And they were like, no, you have to make a decision. You have to think about your professional discipline and your business conduct, and you can't do both.
You're already gone before they're done with the sentence.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I enjoyed working there. It was in the grand scheme of things, you got to watch 4 free films a day, and I love movies, and
but it's great friends. It's an insulting ultimatum, though. Like, really? Do you?
Especially in Los Angeles, when the town is 70% people working in the creative industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the ultimatum, and that was the push, and then it ended up being 18 episodes, which kept me going, for 6-7 months, and was also the job that afforded me the opportunity to pay for the green card case and get off my O1 visa, and get out of that situation. So yeah, I'm very grateful to Ant Farm.
All hail the mouse. That's awesome. Like, and I've heard that like getting on a series like that is really good for getting paid after the work is done too. Is that accurate?
You mean like residuals?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's changing a whole bunch now. I think even if you were working in the 80s, 90s, when everything was on TV and everything went into syndication or everything was replayed, then those residuals are nice. I think they're nicest on what they call the big 5. If you're on ABC or NBC, Fox, those sort of primetime shows is where it really comes into play. Now with streaming, everything that's on Amazon or Netflix or a cable channel, not so much. I mean, it's always nice to get a residual check and then be like, oh, yeah, it's money for nothing. Well, not for nothing, because you've done the job and that's what you were contracted for. But yeah, they're not the same as what they used to be, or what I think, in the 80s and 90s they were, when everything was channeled through television.
Yeah. I get the concept of money, of feeling like it's money for nothing, because on the flip side of that, like I'll get, I do wedding photography and stuff like that. And I hate it when they pay in advance, because then it feels like I'm doing something for nothing by the time the wedding comes up. Yeah. It's already, Electric already took that. You've been in a handful of Baby Geniuses films, playing the role of
Geniuses.
And yeah.
It's what the world wanted.
Baby Geniuses and the Mystery of the Crown Jewels, Baby Geniuses and the Treasures of Egypt, and Baby Geniuses and the Space Baby in 2015. You always hear the rule of thumb, and I've experienced it personally. Don't work with kids or animals. It could be a night, like don't write them into the script if you can at all costs. So what's it like for you sharing scenes with primarily just toddler co-stars?
It wasn't too bad. Even though I'm sure when you go through IMDb, it shows that one was like 2012, 2013, 2015. We actually shot all three of those in 3 months in Alaska, I think in 2012, 2013, because I actually shot these before Ant Farm, and then just the way that they released them, they started coming out afterwards. But that was, again, I was working at the movie theater at the time, and I left for 3 months. I gave my notice in because there was no way they were going to let me go for 3 months. And then I applied for my job back when I got back.
So are you like at the movie theater when people are coming in, you're like, hey, oh, you're going to Theater 13? 57 minutes into the movie. Look out for this guy. Like, it's so crazy that you're like...
Baby Geniuses didn't go to the movies. Can you imagine? That was direct to DVD. Oh, my goodness.
I thought it might have been a limited release.
I think you're thinking about Boss Baby.
You're thinking of something with a little more prestige than Baby Geniuses and the Crown Jewels. Which is that, at the time, like I said, I was working in the movie theater, and I was earning what, $7.75 an hour, $8 an hour. And so if someone says, hey, you want to go to Alaska for 3 months and earn $1,000 a week for working with John Voight, and to go to Alaska for 3 months in summer, are you kidding? Now the place that I'm at in my career, now I might look at a Baby Genius script and say, this isn't for me at this time, but thank you so much. But at the time, then I was going to do it, and I made lifelong friends. But because I was one of the bad guys, I was like a henchman. I didn't have a lot of interaction with the babies, so I was never really privy to. And they had, all of the kids were twins or triplets. So if there was a baby that was crying, they would just switch them out with their double, so that they could just keep things rolling along. That's what they do a lot on for TV shows, because also they have, a limited amount of hours that they can use kids for. So they will often hire babies and toddlers as twins so that they can double the amount of time that they can use them for. Or if one is a little antsy, then they can just switch them out.
Get his brother over here. Which one? I don't care. Just grab one.
Yeah, I felt very deceived when I found that out about like Big Daddy and Full House. That I was.
Well, I mean, they put it in front of you in Full House, though. Well, no, they didn't.
No, they don't.
You're right. You're right about that.
All right, I'm going to try to keep myself reeled in here for this one. In 2015, you got to step foot into Patty's Pub in the shoes of Psycho Pete in the best television series in the history of television series. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's not even up for argument.
Bias.
What was it? No, it's not.
Okay.
Well, it just is. What was it like working with the gang?
So good. And I've spoken about this to other people before too, because I was a big fan of the show going in. I had watched the show for 8-9 seasons beforehand. It's the only time that it's happened, and it's never happened since. I was a little starstruck and so happy to be there that I feel like I wasn't acting like myself. I wasn't a real human being. I was asking questions that I already knew the answers to, just to try and make a good impression. And blah. I just tried to, I tried to be too nice, and it backfired on me because I just felt like a robot I was starstruck, and I was so happy to be there.
I think that worked for your character, though, because it was set up like, this is a big, intimidating guy. You should be scared of him. And then you're just the complete opposite. You're so sweet and soft-spoken.
I just find myself at the craft service table talking to them and be like, wait, so you guys write this show too? That's crazy. Yeah, of course. I've watched it from the I don't know why I would do that. I just wanted to make a good impression, and I've seen Rob and Caitlin and Charlie subsequently, as I've been around the lots and in social gatherings, and I've been like, oh my God, guys, I'm so I just wasn't. I was so starstruck that I stopped functioning as a human being, and it's never happened again since. And I've been very conscious to just be like, oh my God, just be yourself.
I love to hear that story because I think that the best actors are the fans of film, and it'll happen to any of us. If any of us meets that one person, I never thought this shit would happen, then it happens.
If I meet Gillian Anderson or Kate Blanchett, it's going to be game over. I'm not going to be able to as human being.
Yeah. What's Kate Blanchett's name?
My wife met Gillian Anderson at one of those Comic-Cons, and she was useless just because she couldn't do anything. She just stood there and stared at her like a weirdo, and then smiled and cried and walked away. I'm like, there was so much money that was paid to have that moment. She's like, it's all I needed. I just wanted to, oh my God.
Well, I met John Travolta and I didn't feel that way. So clearly he's not my childhood hero. Moving on.
I'd be useless if I ended up on the set of Patty's Pub. I would be far worse than whatever you feel like you did. It would just,
I'm sure, we're actors. And so we play it back in our heads. And I'm sure it feels much worse in my head than it was.
Well, your performance.
But the truth is, they've probably experienced it too, though. It's probably people that you just don't know about it. Charlie Day's probably one of somebody like, man, I don't normally trip out, but
they talk about
Prince. It happens.
Dolph Lundgren and Scott Bakula.
Speaking of Lundgren, since that's the name I've been working on, because that's not the name. It's still in 2015. Now, you also stepped into the wild world of Damon Lindelof for 2 episodes of The Leftovers. Now, Lindelof Productions seems to be steeped in mystery. What is it like from the production side? Is there any difference as far as how much information you walk onto set with versus other sets you've been on?
It's funny. I was a big Lost fan. But it's funny. I think I got the full scripts for those episodes for The Leftovers. And I had watched the first season and I was a fan. I like that kind of programming. But I think, especially for the first episode, I think I got delivered the whole first script, and I'm pretty sure I have the script for 206 as well, because normally, I guess, if you work on those kind of productions, that things are blacked out or you just get your scenes. I remember when I did one day on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and when I went in for that audition, they didn't give you audition sides. You had to go to the casting office, and they gave them to you there in the room. And then you had 10 minutes with the scene in the waiting room. And then you come in, you do the audition, you hand the audition sides back, and then you don't have a physical copy of anything. And then there's been other jobs that you audition for where they will give you fake sides. They will write scenes for that show that aren't in the show, but give you a sense of that character. Yeah. And then there've been other shows that I've worked on, whether it's through secrecy or production is running behind, where you do just get your scenes and you sort of have to piece together or ask questions, on set and be like, wait a minute, is this happening because da-da-da-da? And then the director will usually have information that will fill you in. But I think for The Leftovers, 99% sure I had the full scripts for those.
And your first appearance was in the first episode of season 2, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of makes sense. I mean, there's that's where they're kind of setting up the mystery. I wouldn't imagine too many answers being in that script anyway.
Yeah, and it was right at the beginning of the episode too. And again, a wonderful experience. I'd never been to Austin before, and that was shot down in Austin. So it was nice to see a new city. And I'm very fortunate to be able to travel and do that stuff.
What how do you feel about the Lost finale? Like, what camp do you find yourself in?
Oh, okay. I love Lost. I have the Blu-rays down here. Actually, way back in the day, back in when was that airing? That must have been like 2002, 2003, 2004. Way back then, British programming was way more behind. Now things air simultaneously around the world. Back then, the first 2 seasons of Lost had aired in the States before it had made it to England, or at least the first season, because I got the first and second season on DVD and binged it over a weekend. Same with 24. We were way behind with 24, and I destroyed the first 2 seasons of 24. But I love Lost. Intellectually, yes, one side of my brain is like, who's doing the airdrops and why? But emotionally, I was like, this is nice, and everyone's together, and like the music is so good, and like my heart is like, oh, I like this. But yes, there's an intellectual side of my brain that is like, but wait a minute, it doesn't make sense if this is this. But I actually gave it a rewatch at the beginning of lockdown. I was like, you know what? I'm going to work my way through Lost again. And I love that show. I have the music on my soundtrack playlist. And yeah, Lost has a very special place in my heart. You leave Lost alone.
You put it absolutely perfect. I think I feel the exact same way. I was emotionally content and I was intellectually frustrated.
Yeah, that's where I would put it.
Yeah, I think it's still it was good fan service at the end. I think they got themselves to a point where there was no right way to end it. Like they set up, but I would rather them get to that point and still have set up such a compelling story, even if there wasn't all answers at the end. It was just you can't take the fact that it was such a fun ride away from it.
Yeah, I feel like Lost was really riding that wave of, the internet was now becoming readily accessible in every home, and there were forums and people saying like, this is what it is, this is what it is, this is what it is. And ultimately, I don't think that show was ever going to satisfy everyone.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I like Lost.
Yeah. Well, we'll get back onto your career now. We took a little segue there into
a little airdrop.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
In 2016, you starred in the sci-fi comedy Hotbot, which seems kind of like a modern take on weird science with a hint of mannequin. Also, it stars Anthony Anderson, Donald Faison, Danny Masterson, Larry Miller, and Angela Kinsey. I didn't hear about this movie until researching for this interview, but from the trailer, it looks like a solid comedy and it has a great cast. So I was wondering, during the production on a film like that, do you go into shooting like we're making the next breakout summer comedy, or is it more like, all right, we know this is going to end up DVD?
No, you would go into Baby Geniuses thinking that's going to end up on, the DVD bin in a Walmart. This one, Hotbot, I didn't know anything about. I was there for just one day, and they had already shot the film by this point. And this was to go in and do some sort of scene at the beginning of the movie. And it wasn't directed by the director of the film. They brought in another director, Penelope Spheris, who had directed Wayne's World. And so I didn't know anything about it, but all I was told was like, hey, it's one day filming. It's Penelope Spheris who did Wayne's World. And so then I was like, okay. Because sometimes I think, I'm a film fan, and I like actors. And if someone is attached to something whose work I admire or respect, sometimes that's like, oh, I'm so sorry. It sounds like a motorbike is taking off into space outside. Like I said, like now at this point in my career, I would not sign up to do Baby Geniuses, 6, 7, 8, because I've done that.
Classic after this interview. That movie's going to be.
I don't need to do that. But at the time, at the place that you're in your career, where you're like working a day job for $7.75 an hour, and someone's like, "Hey, you want to go to Alaska for 3 months?" Yeah, I do. Or like I say, Hotbot probably shows up as 2016 on IMDb, but it was probably 2014 after I just put $10,000 into a green card case. And so then I'm like, I'll do it. I'll do anything. I'll take it. I don't think the final product was something that, with hindsight, that I would have been like, oh yeah, I'll do it. But you do what you do in the moment to sustain your career and to it was Penelope Spheris who did Wayne's World. Like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then hindsight is a gift.
Now, speaking of sustaining your career, in 2016, you were directed by the one and only Mario Van Peebles for the reboot of Roots. What was it like to take direction from him?
So he was great. He was an awesome director. Oh my gosh, Roots. We were filming down in New Orleans. It was about a 45-minute drive, I guess, west of New Orleans, where we were filming. And we were out in these swamps in the countryside. And so he was dressed head to toe in beekeeping gear. Like he had he had the gloves and, he had these mosquito nets over his face. All the crew did. And so all the actors are there in I think we were a Scottish regiment. So I was in a kilt and socks. And oh my gosh, guys, I have pictures. I might be able to send you pictures afterwards. My legs were so chewed up by mosquitoes after that. And, wardrobe would come around and they'd spray our legs with deep heat and all this stuff and bug repellent. But oh my gosh, I was chewed up. But yeah, he was so lovely, but very very much protected from the elements.
Now, this is our second interview today, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask David to do this. Oh, go for it.
It's just so funny to be how the tables turn. It's just that the subject matter is Roots, and it's appropriately so. The black
easy boy, easy. You're turning red.
He's like, no, we don't suffer today. It's your time.
It's not suffer.
Your time is now.
Now, this is our second interview we've done today, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask David. Durden apparently came today to do impressions, and you don't know this. You just mentioned New Orleans. Durden does a mean New Orleans accent. Can you let him? I mean, you did it for the first guest. Give him. He did an Italian accent early.
My accent quote is done.
No. From Django, do it.
Well, you want the Steven?
Yeah. Give it to him.
Steven, my boy.
See, there you go. Knowledge. See. There you go. You might have just got a job from that.
Yeah.
Now, listen, he hates Forrest Whitaker to his gut. So let me just ask you, did you have any experience with Forrest Whitaker?
No. It's just become a running joke on the show.
For you? Not for me. He's one of the greatest actors of all time on YouTube Earth. Now, did you have any experience with Forrest Whitaker either on the screen or behind the scenes?
I did not. Again, I think that one I was there for just 2 days. And that, when I was doing Roots, it was around about the time where I really felt my career was really starting to roll a little, because I went literally straight from one production, flew on a plane to New Orleans, did 2 days on Roots, flew back on a plane, back to LA, did a week on Two Broke Girls, flew on a plane to Vancouver, and did The Magician. So it was 4 jobs that went boom, boom, boom. And it was oh boy, here we go. This is what things are supposed to feel like. But I didn't. But I love Forrest Whitaker. I had The Last King of Scotland here on Blu-ray, which is so good. Gillian Anderson. So good.
Yes.
I love Forrest Whitaker too, but I love how much it annoys him when I make fun of Forrest Whitaker more than I love Forrest Whitaker. So
You're gonna stop it. You're gonna stop.
Forrest Whitaker and Tilda Swinton have become.
He's a legend.
I love Tilda Swinton too.
Oh,
we need to talk about Kevin. Oh my gosh.
Great film. But
Vanilla Sky.
My feelings about Tilda Swinton are sincere. Like she's an awesome actress, but there is something about her that just makes me unsettled. And I can't even put my finger on it.
She's so otherworldly.
Yes.
Oh,
she's
I love
alien.
it.
What did I? Yes.
Otherworldly.
I said she's alien. That's what I said. She's very alien.
Say that. He just said otherworldly. Say aliens. We're aliens. What do you mean? No. He said otherworldly. Leave it there.
Okay.
Easy boy.
Ethereal. Like Kate Blanchett. They've just got this energy about them that is, I love it.
Bryce Dallas Howard has it a little bit.
Why is Kate Blanchett's name ringing the bell? Did we just review a movie that had Kate Blanchett in it? Oh, no, Don't Look Up.
Don't look up.
Yeah, don't look up. There we go.
And Tilda Swinton was the highlight of The French Dispatch. Yeah. So, she's a fantastic actress. She has a very visceral effect on me somewhere primitively.
Down below, I bet.
No, it's the opposite. It's something elsewhere. Anywho, all right. In 2017, you received high praise for the uncanny precision in which you brought to Victor Buono, who actually passed away a few months before you were born. You brought him to life for Ryan Murphy's Feud. How did you approach a role like that, where you had the responsibility of portraying a real life person?
For that one, his nephew reached out to me, who still lives in Encino, where Victor Buono was born and raised. And he reached out to me via social media once he found out I was going to be playing that role, with a whole bunch of information. And so, and I think that was a little easier because there was a lot of media about Victor Buono. There was a lot of interview footage. There was a lot of footage from him in films. I was aware of his work from Batman. Also, one of my favorite films growing up, one of my favorite animated films was Flight of Dragons, which I never associated at the time. But yeah, I approached it in a different way, I guess finding him vocally and physically first, and then reaching a point where I felt comfortable if I got new lines on the fly that I could just do them, and improvising a little bit so that I was comfortable. But yeah, there was a lot of material to hand, and the family was very open. Wayne was very open, and we corresponded a little bit. It was very different. I played another real life character last year, the year before, Jerry Summers for Dr. Death. Mm-hmm. And that was a very different situation because there wasn't a lot of material available on him. And he had been through such a traumatic experience where he had sort of, for all intents and purposes, been decapitated from the neck down and left paraplegic by a doctor and his best friend, that it didn't feel appropriate to reach out and research and say like, hey, let me into your world so I can...
Yeah, let's revisit that emotionally.
For my art. That felt like a line that I would not want to cross. But for Victor Buono, that was kind of a lot of fun to find that physicality and vocal.
Yeah.
Remember I had to toe that line with the John Marcus project.
Uh-huh.
When I had even just doing that documentary was crazy. Now, what's also crazy, I will say this, did it blow your mind that I had already premeditated this? See, we're on the same wavelength. So we talked earlier about Marvel and DC. So I got to ask you here, and I think I know the answer, but I'll let you say it. Are you team Marvel or team DC? Who wins?
Oh my gosh.
You can say it. It's okay.
Can't we all live in peace? Look, I am an equal opportunities franchise. Plus, I have all the Marvel films. I have all the DC films. I've got my classic Superman and Batman films. I've got, I've got it all here. I'm just I like that genre, as I'm sure you've gathered through the stuff that I like and I enjoy. I like superhero movies, and I like those worlds that they create. I like that they're doing very disparate things, that Marvel has that interconnected universe, and now DC is going along the routes of doing the Joker and doing the Batman and having their own separate takes from filmmakers. If push came to shove and you were gonna make me choose, I would love to be a part of the Marvel universe, like that world that they've created. But if someone called and was like, "Hey, you want to be in the Batman sequel?"
Hell yeah.
I wouldn't be like,
"Oh, I got the answer."
"Oh, let me think."
I'm
Team hire me. Team hire me. Who's hiring?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, I think that's more. You're like just comic books. Like it's not Team Marvel or Team DC.
It's just I'm a fan of good stuff, man.
I like the darkness of DC. I'm more
DC's
drawn
definitely,
to
and
that.
you're right. You get something from both genres. You get Suicide Squad. How can any Suicide Squad, Marvel, or Disney would never?
Well, I think the Punisher is what coolest.
Oh, he's the new Punisher. I'm talking about the dude on Netflix. That motherfucker right there. That's the Punisher.
I like Thomas Jane and John Travolta. I was happy with that.
All right.
All right. In 2016, you were Richard Greenstreet in an episode of Supernatural titled A Most Holy Man. Supernatural is this guy's favorite show, one of them. So I'm going to just throw it over to him for 3 minutes, and I promise he'll be nice.
Don't freak out. I have a Supernatural coloring book.
Oh my gosh.
Now, if you look inside, I haven't colored anything because I don't see colors. Don't see colors. Can we all just have peace? Now, with that being said here, I am a fucking Winchester nut. I'm a Supernatural nut because here's the thing. As he said, to me, it's no different than Marvel or DC. It's a universe that was created. And then to be honest with you, this is one of the best shows ever because consistency and availability is the best ability. So to me, this show ran, if I'm not mistaken, damn near 21, 22 fucking seasons. And I'm like, there's no way someone says, I'm going to start this. I started Game of Thrones like 8 years late. That's just 8 seasons. 22 seasons, fuck that. If I didn't catch this show from the beginning, I never would have. It is fucking great. What was it like to be on set of such one of the top iconic shows of all time?
It was great. It was a great experience. Anytime I get to go to Vancouver is a grand old time. And like I said, when you're a guest star actor and you're going from show to show and you're sort of, you have to feel out the environment because sometimes you get to a set and it's very much like, oh, this is an environment where I sit in the corner and I don't say anything and I get up and I do my work and I go home and I never talk about it ever again. The guys on Supernatural were so nice and so professional. And I think this was when I was there, was it the 14th or 15th season? And they were there and they were professional and they were courteous and they were kind and they knew their shit, I think it's very easy for a show to be going that long for the series regulars to check out. And they were not. They were present and they had ideas and they rehearsed, the stunt stuff and the choreography. And the director of that episode was Amanda Tapping, who I knew from Stargate SG-1, which I was a fan of, and she was lovely. So it just made this, whole warm environment. It was a lot of fun.
We have a segment on our show called King Connections, and I'm going to just bring this whole interview full circle just to let you know that we actually listen. Now, you got cut from the scene of the Batman, which you took your friends to, right?
Mm-hmm.
You played on Supernatural. Don't feel bad because the star of that show tried out for Batman and didn't get it. Jensen Ackles. Damn, it's the what I fucking do. Whoa! Yes, that just happened. I'm so happy about that.
Okay.
He knows what I'm talking about. That just happened. He was in Batman. They cut his scene. Then he went to be on Supernatural. Jensen Ackles applied for Batman when Christian Bale got it.
I got it.
No, you don't.
No, I got it.
No, you don't, man. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. He's not into this superhero shit, man. Open up your fucking mind, man.
What I am into is The Good Place, which from 2016 to 2018, you made 3 appearances, essentially once per season. And your character was pivotal to Chidi's character arc. 2 questions. Was William Jackson Harper, what was he like to work with? And was there room for improvisation on that show?
He's super nice. And that was a really lovely show too. Improvisation wise, we did improv a little, but not really a lot in the scenes. It would usually be tags at the end. So we would do a scene and then the directors would just let things roll a little and then we'd vamp. people didn't really improv within the scripted scene because they were so well scripted and it was so
multi-layered. Like, how could you even change something?
That show was so well written that I think to play around and improv on something like that would have derailed some of the word. Everything was so specific and like you were saying, detailed on there.
What you said, I think that's exactly the impression that I got when watching the show, is that you can kind of tell, like, at the end of the scene, once they got the information, it's like, okay, jazz it up a little bit. We're going to freestyle now for, like, you know, to play us out. Because it would usually kind of descend into chaos towards the end of a lot of the scenes where it just goes off the rails. Like, what the fuck?
But again, a wonderful experience. And there was one day, I think the second season, where I get hit by the trolley. They were so kind because I was working on something else and the schedule shifted, and then I wasn't able to be there for when I got hit by the trolley. And they, instead of like, they could have very easily just cut me out of the whole episode, and instead they got a body double, and then they digitally put my face onto it, and I went in a week later just to do some extra bits that they needed. But yeah, I always appreciate when production, you know, treat you with kindness and respect, and they say, "Oh, you're working on this other show. Great, we'll accommodate and we'll figure something out." Because sometimes you work on productions and they're very much like, "No, you're on this production. We own you. You can't do anything for 21 days." And you might, you know, as a guest star actor, you just are going from job to job. And there are other productions that will work in tandem and say, "Oh, great, you can have him Monday, Tuesday. We'll take him Thursday, Friday." Schedules align and everything works out, which I'm always very grateful for.
Yeah, God, it's gotta feel like going from one high school to like always being the new kid at a high school, like having to feel out, well, all right, what table am I allowed to sit at? Who's in the cliques? Are they going to let me in?
And some shows are wonderful and some shows are less wonderful, and that's okay.
Yeah. In 2018, you wrote and directed and starred in an award-winning short film called Sam Did It. You play Sam and you get to meet your celebrity idol, except you work in a morgue and your idol is dead. The idol is Alfred Molina, and you actually got Alfred Molina to play himself.
You're Alfred Molina.
He even has his own theme song that I heard in the trailer, which was fantastic.
Come on, Alfred Molina.
So first of all, where did the idea come from? And was it the idea that inspired you to direct something, or did you want to direct something so you came up with an idea?
You know, like I said, I love storytelling and I love film, and I've always wanted to write and direct and make my own stuff. And I had jumped into a writing class, I think in 2014, and I had been writing feature films and all these things that would require, you know, $20, $25 million budgets. And again, you know, you go into these things being like, "Oh, something," and then you finish it and you're like, "I can never make this financially independently." So it was really a need to make something that I could physically make myself and have access to. And I had just worked with Alfred on Feud. And so I very sheepishly sent him a Facebook message saying, like, "I don't have to do it, but if you can read it. But if you don't read it. If this is imposing, then pretend that I never said this to you, and don't even worry about it." And he very graciously said yes to playing himself dead on a morgue table.
Well, that actually answers our next question.
Right.
And for those who don't know out there, Alfred Molina is Doc motherfucking Ock
from
Spider-Man.
Which one?
Yeah.
No Way Home. One of the homes. I don't know.
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man
Okay.
Sherlock Holmes.
I'm sorry. I'm not that guy. My apologies. I know who
Yeah, you
Alfred
did
Molina
good. That was really good.
is. But please continue. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to ask him. Now, speaking again, what was it like? You've already answered what it was like to direct and work with him, but yet again, you're still flirting with that Marvel. I told you it's Team Marvel. See how he came all the way back around. Let me ask you this now: for aspiring filmmakers out there, what is the best piece of advice you can offer someone who's setting out to make their own movie and the tragedy that they don't know that's about to come their way?
Gosh, it's a very personal thing. I think it depends what you want out of it, because you can go and you can shoot something on an iPhone and get friends together, and you can go and shoot something this weekend. You can go and you can do that, which is totally valid. And if that's what you want to do, go and do that. For me, I knew that I wanted to use this as a calling card as a director, so that I could use the short film to jump onto director mentorship programs, to jump onto shadowing programs where I could go onto, I used Sam Did It to jump onto Ryan Murphy's director mentorship program, and then I was shadowing on 911. So that was really the end goal. And I suppose going into it, knowing why you're making it, if you're going to make something and you're going to throw it up on Instagram or YouTube, and it's, bite-sized content, and the location you need is an apartment, oh my gosh, go do it. But I just wanted to do something that, can show off your skills a little bit. Or if you're going into the festival market, because technology is so accessible now, how do you differentiate your voice from the thousands of other submissions that are coming in to make it just that a little special, or a story that's unique? If you want to go into producing, then, you got to produce the shit out of that film and make that budget stretch. And if you're going to go in to use your short film as a director, then, really pulling out all the stops. Or if you're using it as an actor and you just need pieces of material for a show reel, then making sure that it shows you and making sure that the lighting is nice on your footage and coverage. And you might only need 30 seconds of stuff to do that, to fit into a reel. So I guess it depends what you want out of it. And I, for better or worse, for right or wrong, personally, I would rather write a short film that is a little out of my reach and spend 12 months figuring out how I'm going to do things and how I'm going to be able to afford it and saving money to do that, than going out every weekend and making content without pushing myself, or without learning something new, or without a clear goal in mind, I guess. And there's no right or wrong in any of it. And if you're learning,
I think that was a very important answer. And the reason why I said it, I don't know if this is what you were going to say, is, to me, we have a responsibility. Like you just said, what do you want out of it? And more importantly, we have to be careful, especially people our age here, not to date us, but we can't be so get off my lawn, because a lot of people do look down at people who use these cell phones and all these things. But here's the thing. We bought cameras and got cameras because our phones didn't have cameras when we were young. I'm pretty sure if we had them now, all we need is some good lighting, some good audio. We can have content. Fuck these people with these red cameras. I just made $1 million YouTube deal with my cell phone. So again, we can't look down on them. It's just the technology of their time. And what do you
No.
Well, you answered my question, because I've always wondered, like, why make a short film when there's just this limited built-in audience at the festival circuits, unless you post it online, as opposed to a feature film. But I think you put it perfectly, like to have the reel, to have the experience, to pave the way to do those things, and where you could take a year to produce a really good short film, it could take 5 years just to get a feature film off the ground. So I mean,
it's, I think when you make a short film, it's really the filmmaker's vision, because they are in control. They are in control of the budget. There's no external force saying, you can't kill that character. You can't say that line because that wouldn't sell to a market in Europe. And you can't do this because, that actor's not going to open a cinema in that region. And, all these external forces and financing that comes into play on something bigger. I have another short film that I want to make, and logistically, I just don't know how to do it right now, and I'm figuring it all out.
That's exciting.
But I have, it's. I love the process of figuring out how I'm going to do it. but I also have these other features that are sort of spinning their wheels. And then it becomes this logistical game of like, well, do I go make that short film and put all my time and energy into that? Or do I wait for this feature film plate to stop spinning because that will be the next sort of springboard on my career to really do things, and then no one's really going to care about the short film anymore. So, there's no right or wrong to any of this filmmaking process. And if it makes your heart sing to go and make content, then oh my gosh, go and make it. I have friends that do the most insane Instagram videos and they're perfect, and they just shoot it on a green screen with their phone, and like, oh my gosh, go do it.
Is Sam Did It available for people to check out right now anywhere?
It is. It's I think it's on Vimeo and it's on YouTube. It's out there. You can. It was never made with the intent of people are going to have to pay a subscription on German television to watch it at 1 a.m. No, it was made to be accessible, and again, as a calling card to say, hey, I made this film. Go and watch it. I would hate to make a short film and then have people say, oh, what can I watch? And be like, well, if you subscribe for $12.99 for the month, and then you can cancel that credit card subscription. And no, just go watch it. Go watch it online.
I'll put the link in the description for this for sure.
Bing.
Why? Ow.
Now, also in 2018, you returned to the world of Byron Murphy, starring in an episode of American Horror Story Apocalypse. And you starred in 2 Murphy productions this year with 911 Lone Star and a surprise role in another series that looks killer. Now, Ryan Murphy, of course, seems to have a loyalty when it comes to the people that he works with. So I want to ask you this: ever since Feud, it seems like he's kept you in mind. So you talked about way earlier in this interview, and we talked about being on the cutting room floor. It's still a lesson to be learned, the networking, the people you work with and the things you learn. So what was it like really to work with him, and what's that chemistry like?
It's great. It's like I said, I did Feud, and then I used Sam Did It to get onto Ryan Murphy's director mentorship program, and then I was shadowing on 911, and the director that I was shadowing on 911, our episode finished on the Friday, and then on the Monday I was on set on American Horror Story with him as the director and me as the actor, and him being like, you're not shadowing on this episode. And I was like, no, this week I'm your actor. I guess the closest thing to it, I guess, would be regional theater in England, where you go on a tour and you do different shows, and it's the same theater players, it's the same actors, and every summer they go and they do a different play. But what I think is really wonderful about Ryan Murphy's stuff, and it's also happening on there's a director called Tate Taylor who I did Ma and Breaking News in Yuba County, and they use the same actors, but what I love is they don't pigeonhole actors into one role. So Victor Buono is very different than Dave on 911, is very different than the guy on Horror Story, is very different from the guy for this other thing. That they have the vision and scope to say, oh yeah, Dominic can do that. He doesn't have to be the same thing in every show. And I just love that mentality, because there is also, and I'll raise my hand and say that I am very, very, very fortunate that I have not been typecast in my career at all. I've done a whole gambit of things. I think Ryan and Tate are so good at just letting actors act and find roles and not getting just like, oh, you're this guy.
Taking chances on actors too, like you said. That's great. It's fun for the audience too to get to see somebody that you like, that you're always used to seeing a certain way, and that a lot of those shows, they let them take a chance on them to try a character that they maybe always wanted to try.
Yeah.
I think who's that? Her name is slipping my mind now, but she was like in most of the American Horror Stories. Older actress.
Acclaim?
Yes. Like the entirety of her career, she was like this one particular character. And then
Mhm.
American Horror Story, she played like I had no idea she had these abilities. And yeah, to have somebody like a production company like Ryan Murphy's come around and they give actors and actresses the ability to try things like that.
And as an actor, to bring it back around to short films, I think short films are such a great place for actors to be able to, wherever you're at in your career. I did a short film at the end of last year that I was like, oh my gosh, I've never had a chance to do this before. It's a period piece and I get to sing and I get to do a Northern Irish accent. All right, let's go. Let's do it. It's something I've never done before. And that short films are such a great place to stretch and push yourself as an actor. If you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, but this short film is looking for some, okay, I'm going to do it. Yeah, just to bring it back to that.
Yeah. Another great show that I've loved, binged it, rewatched it. Actually, we just rewatched the whole series like this past week. I've been watching it and really mad that it didn't come back for a season 3. So set it up so nice. 2019, you started multiple episodes of another great show called Santa Clarita Diet. How do you approach a role like that where you're supposed to be this intimidating character, but it's you're also supposed to be funny and it's through the lens of comedy?
Yeah, I guess for something like that, my size comes into play because I'm 6'5" and I'm a big guy. And so that will automatically, I guess, sometimes read as intimidating. And I went through, the Groundlings program and improv, and I've always had a background in comedy, I guess. And I really enjoy performers that can bring out lightness in darker roles, and if you're playing a lighter role, to really to ground it in something that is a little more serious. So it's just finding that balance, I guess, for the show. And the other actors on there are so wonderful. Getting to work with Timothy and Drew and Jonathan Slavin, who's on there, and Liv and Skylar, just really creative people that are having the best time on set, and just then it doesn't feel like work. And you do a take that is a little more aggressive, and then you pull it back and you do a take that is a little more fun and playful, and then the showrunners can choose which direction they want to go.
I mean, now from The Office and from even Hitman, this guy loves Timothy Olyphant as much as he loves It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Is he as cool as the character he actually portrays?
So cool. He's so laid back and so, there's no artifice of fame or ego about it. He's just like, yeah, guys, it is what it is. Really, really lovely. Yeah, that whole set. And because I was watching along with that show too. I'd watched the first 2 seasons before I auditioned. And I was sad, and I get really sad when shows just end, and they're not afforded the chance to wrap up. And I would have loved even if they'd have just given them, an hour-long special just to wrap up what they wanted to do.
I just wanted to see Timothy Olyphant I wanted to see his it. Like, I wanted to see him taking over the way Drew Barrymore was and how he'd let go with that. That would have been so fun.
Yeah. I miss Glow too. I watched Glow on Netflix, and then that just came to an end, and I was like, but I wanted the wrap up. So now yes.
Yeah.
Mark Maron's in there. Now if a high concept show comes out, I'm very trepidatious on starting it until I know that it's going to wrap up and it's going to have a finale, because I don't want to be left hanging. If Lost had finished at like season 5, I would have been so angry.
Yeah,
that I put that much time in as a viewer and as a fan to just stop.
Well, speaking of a great start to a great finish, and Timothy Olyphant, Justified. Did you catch that?
I haven't done Justified. I know it's coming back for another limited series, but I haven't. I feel like I have so many shows on my to watch list.
Well, I could tell you there is not even a lull in the whole series from start to finish. Perfect beginning, perfect ending, and I'm sure that when they come back, it'll be perfect.
You found something with a perfect ending. That's rich.
Yeah, I mean the writing is so amazing in it. And what's his name? He plays Boyd Crowder. Walton Goggins. He is incredible.
Yes, I worked with Walton. I did a pilot of. I'm going to bring things full circle. I did a pilot of LA Confidential in 2017, where I was playing. Was it Sid? Oh man, now I can't remember. But it's the role that Danny DeVito played in the feature film version. Danny DeVito being in Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
See, he gets it.
Yeah,
he gets it because that display I did 30 minutes ago.
I usually don't pick up on these things till post production. Like, oh, that's
okay. Well, you'll know what's wrong with Soccer Company if you don't pick up after yourself. Now, this year you played in the role of Mark again in the film 7 Days. The premise behind this movie is really intriguing. Now, can you tell us, if you can, anything about the film and your role in it? NDA excluded.
Yeah, no, this is so 7 Days is a film that's being made by a friend of mine, Alan Jameson, where it's sort of 7 individual stories talking about, being typecast in a role. Alan is a wonderful actress who, through her career has sort of been typecast as the tall, good-looking woman, and she's never really afforded the chance to play multiple facets of who she is as an actress. And so she put this together as a way of showing all the different things that she can do as a filmmaker, which is fantastic. And we were in class together. We, on and off, I love being in class. And so we were in class together for a while. And she used a lot of actors through that class, which advice that I would give to any actors out here is being in class and finding your community and finding the people that you like working with and who you like collaborating with and writing with and making things together. And that's exactly what she did. And she just also had a film that won the Audience Award at South by Southwest, I think. Aspirational Slut, that she worked with my friend Caroline Lindy, who was also in that BGB class. So, just a whole bunch of just creative people.
He's sold just on the title.
I'm going on YouTube right after, as soon as we finish this interview. Aspirational.
I think it's up online. I think it just became a Vimeo staff pick last week.
I would put Aspirational Sluts film if you're going to search it.
Oh, that's a staff pick. All right. Okay. Staff pick.
Yeah, that's the what the fuck? What the hell is that? Aspirational Sluts really threw me off. The 7. It was such a cool concept seeing like to take film, and I love when it gets experimental like that, like one actor is playing 7 different characters and trusting the audience to go along.
It's one of those things where it took a long while to make. We shot our section in a motel, like down, I think, towards Playa del Rey. And then she didn't shoot another segment for another 3 months when she'd sort of got the budget together for that next segment and another location. And then it would take another 3 months to shoot the next little section. So it was sort of put together by piecemeal. And then I think I remember having a conversation with her. She was having trouble programming it at festivals because it's essentially sort of 7 little shorts as one feature film. And so people couldn't really put a pin in what it was exactly. But I like that. I love, like you say, that it's experimental and it's different and it's not run of the mill. I like that.
A feature short.
A feature short.
Yeah, these little vignettes.
Yeah. If something can't be fit into a box, I'm ultimately, I want to know what that is. You have worked on so many projects, like we said, we've barely even had the opportunity to scratch the surface. Is there a project that we missed that you're particularly proud of?
Oh boy. I mean, just from a fan point of view, just getting to work on Star Trek was everything to me. I feel like I did that and I could just raise my hand and say, okay, I'm retiring. I'm done. That's it. There's nothing else in my heart. I mean, there is. I would murder to be on Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings.
I'm sorry. I hate to cut you out just because you said it. I was going to wait till later to kind of throw it into the questions. Has anybody ever accused you of looking like Sam from Game of Thrones? Sam.
Oh my gosh.
You don't see it? I see it.
No.
Please tell me I'm not being racist.
I think you are. You always
because he played a guy named Sam. He looks like Sam. No. Sam's a Brit. What do you do? What do you do? What? He's Sam.
No. When, and actors will understand this, you'll get it. Like you have, and this is going to sound worse than I'm intending it, but you have your, I don't want to say nemesises, but you know, when you're especially in the before COVID times, when you would go and audition and you would be in the waiting room and then I'd be like, there's Charlie, there's Chris Reed, okay, there's that. And, you know, you fall into the category of heavyset white guy who's going in for a nerdy role. And then, you know, we have a Twitter exchange between us being like, oh, yeah, I bet Charlie got that one. Yeah, I bet that one went to Chris because they were looking for someone that did this. And I bet they went with that. And then, you know, if it's a show with a really big budget, then it's like, oh, yeah, that'll go to James Corden. Yep, that one's going to go to Paul Walter Hauser. That one's going to go to that. And yep, now Cameron Britton's done that. So, you know, there are people who fit into your category that, yeah, you're aware of for sure.
Yeah, I got you in my crosshairs.
Hey, I wasn't watching Sam from Game of Thrones 4 nights ago. It was him I was watching. So he's on the uptick. All right. Here we go.
For this section of questions, we're just gonna we just ask for rapid fire answers. No, absolutely no explanation.
Favorite color?
Blue.
And unless you have 7 dogs, I think I know the answer to this one. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Okay.
Favorite villain?
Favorite villain?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Curveball.
Gosh, I used to love Dr. Doom. He was my favorite villain growing up, Dr. Doom.
A tower of typos or a grammatical battlefield?
I don't know what it means, but a tower of typos.
Okay. See, that what that means is I'm going back to your original old website that I found of you, and you had said something about, you know, if there's typos on here and if this is a grammatical battlefield because of my sausage fingers, I apologize. And also, if you use the term grammatical battlefield, email me right now so we could be best friends. So I see you.
Oh my gosh.
You've changed your position on things. That's very progressive of you.
Yes. How I have changed.
Huh? Sausage finger? Who are you? Abe Froman from Chicago? Sausage King?
It's funny, you know. You say sausage fingers, but the episode I did of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I was an Englishman, and they found out that I was hacking into systems or something. They figured out that I was an overweight Englishman because of the typos that I was doing. So they were like, he must have big fingers. Something like that.
It's always an H right after the G.
You're going on our wall. I want you to know this is going to be your face is going to say sausage fingers right there. Now he's going to be awesome. Yeah, he has to go on the next one. All right. So I need to know what's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning?
Oh gosh, feed the cats.
That's yeah. You don't have a choice, dude.
All 5.
Don't have a choice. Yeah. 4:30 a.m. Time to feed the cats.
Staring at you, guilty eyes. What is your worst habit?
Gosh, I'm a collector of
collecting cats.
Blu-rays. I'm terrible. If I like 1 or 2 films in a series of films, it doesn't matter how progressively awful all of those other films get. Like, because I know that they're part of that film series, then I'm in. I'm all in.
Yeah. Favorite adult beverage?
Oh God, you know, I don't really drink a whole bunch. If I do, I'll have vodka and Coke, which Americans don't seem to comprehend. But in England, I feel like you can go to any bar and be like, hey, I'll have a vodka and Coke. And they'll be like, okay. But in America, you ask for a vodka and Coke and they'll be like, oh, you mean cranberry and Coke?
Because they do rum and Coke here. So, right. Weirdos.
Yeah. I don't know. I always get pushback on that, but I don't drink too often.
Nah, that ain't right. That ain't how we do it.
So he gave you 2 impressions this interview.
Favorite song?
Favorite song? I'm a soundtrack guy. I listen to a lot of soundtracks. My favorite is, gosh, there's a lot of good stuff. I love Breaking of the Fellowship by Howard Shore. That always gets me. It's the score at the end of Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not. Number 9 says football or soccer, but don't answer because that's a rhetorical fucking question. They're both the same. So I'm just going to ask you this. What one role that you've seen an actor play that you would have, not to say that you would have done it better, but what's one role that's been portrayed that you would have loved to play?
Oh my gosh.
Killed to have played. One leading role.
I would love to do Lenny in Of Mice and Men. Gosh. To be Samwise Gamgee in Lord of the Rings. I mean, Sean Astin was perfect. I love Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I'm going with that.
Final question. Would you sign a contract to exclusively work with Ryan Murphy, guaranteeing the feature role on multiple shows every year, but all of your co-stars are toddlers?
No.
Oh, damn.
I told you.
Take that, Ryan.
I told you.
Yeah, that's...
No.
All right, so last question before we go into the
You
last.
really have come. You
long way.
have progressed since Baby Geniuses. Like,
He's not doing that
I
shit
won't
again.
even work on another Baby Geniuses if Ryan Murphy is directing that.
He's not doing it again. I'm telling you that now. So we're about to wrap up here now. But before we go, do you have anything you would like to let the audience that you're working on? You'd like to let the audience know about that you can discuss?
Oh gosh, I think everything that I have coming out is under NDAs. I'm working on a video game. There's a couple of TV shows.
It's cool.
Yeah, everything I'm on is under like,
We don't want you
which is
getting
really
any more
rare. Normally I
angry
can
voicemails.
talk about stuff.
It is fine. That just means you have to come back and talk to us about it once it actually airs.
There you go.
All right. See what we did there? All right, Peter.
Before we say goodbye, are there any parting words that you'd like to leave the audience with?
No, go forth and prosper.
We literally thought you were going to say, go fuck yourself.
Oh my God, no.
No, go.
Go forth. Listen, seriously, you are a very talented gentleman. I literally look forward to watching the things you have done and will do. Please keep it up. You really love the craft. And I can tell you love film just as much as being in film. And it was an honor to speak with someone like yourself, sir.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you
so much. Have a great rest of your weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'll be there for you because you are also, by proxy, there for me. I'll be there for you. Oh, the summer time is coming, and the leaves are sweetly blooming.
Hey, guys. Hey, gals. Did you like that?
Mm-hmm.
I know I did. And here's something YouTube thinks you'll like. They've actually recommended. What do you recommend?
I recommend that if you have not subscribed to our channel, that you please click right down there and make sure you correct that wrong this very instant.
Let me ask a question. Where can they find us?
All those places over there, we're everywhere. Everywhere.
We thought we could do a cooler outro. We're just going to walk away now.